Hello, BookTube. This is part one of my fairy tale recap. Over the past year and a half, or a little bit more than a year and a half, I have slowly been collecting all the volumes of Fairy Tale by Hiro Mashima. In November, I finished that collection. I now have all 63 volumes, and I decided I was going to start 2023 by reading the entire fairy tale series. So that's been my project since January 1st. I have gotten to volume 20 yesterday. So I've been reading fairy tale in 3-volume bursts with 6 volumes on Sunday and hoping to get to 6 volumes this weekend or Saturday and Sunday, and then 3 during the work week like I had last week. Although that didn't quite work out on Friday because there was I had went over to my brother's for a little bit and I couldn't read volume 21. So I will be starting that today with the other 6 volumes I had slated for today. So anyway, Fairy Tale is one of my favorite manga series. It's a shonen manga, which means that it is in its sort of a demographic genre. And so shonen is intended for boys in the age of like middle grade to young adult to maybe slightly past young adult. Although I think shonen manga is the most popular form, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, so Fairy Tale is a fantasy manga set in a world called Earthland. And in Earthland, there are all sorts of fantasy races, magic, and the wizards of Earthland have come together in guilds so that they can sort of operate together, take jobs, that sort of thing. And the Fairy Tale Guild is famous for its powerful and destructive wizards. And there is no wizard as destructive as Natsu Dragneel. Natsu Dragneel, this young man here, is a fire dragon slayer. That means that his magical powers involve incorporating aspects of a dragon's physiology into his own, and using a dragon's power to basically enact his attacks. So magic in fairy tale and wizards in fairy tale is it's a blend of Western magic and the Western concept of wizards and a more Eastern sort of concept of sort of martial artists. So the spells are more often than not physical attacks. So that's sort of how the magic works. Although there are some more traditional wizards. Anyway, so Natsu's traveling companion is Happy, the blue cat on the cover. He can talk and he can sprout wings and fly. While they are looking for Natsu's adoptive dragon father, Igneel, they encounter a young celestial wizard named Lucy Heartfilia, the young woman on the cover. Celestial spirit wizard uses magical keys to summon celestial spirits from the celestial spirit world, which basically celestial spirits are personified constellations. There are silver keys for most of the celestial spirits, and then there are golden keys for the zodiac spirits. So after they meet Lucy, Natsu invites Lucy to join Fairy Tale. And gradually the two form, along with Happy, the basis of a team that will be the protagonist, the viewpoint group throughout the series. So, Volume 1 ends with the trio starting their first official job together, which is to steal a book from a corrupt aristocrat. The other two original members of the team come up in the second half of Volume 2 when Urza Scarlet, the most powerful woman in Fairy Tale, overhears that a Dark Guild is planning something in the Lullaby arc. And so she recruits Natsu and his rival Gray to help her figure out what's going on. And Mary Jane asks Lucy to kind of come along as a balance between the three. So Urza's magical power is that she can requip. She has access to a pocket dimension where she can store suits of armor that she can recall. And these magical suits of armor possess individual magical abilities, augments, defenses, and Gray has ice make magic. He can make things out of ice. And he also has the habit of stripping throughout any given moment. So the Lullaby arc is one of my favorites. It kind of gets the core team together. Each one gets a bit of some moments of awesomeness. The fight between Natsu and Aragorn, the leader of Isambard, is really well done. I want to show you that one. The fight between Natsu and Kageyama is really good too. So yeah, like that, really great. And then that. And then I think my favorite image of this arc, which is pretty much the entirety of Volume 3, is right here. Even though it does not include Lucy and Happy, and unfortunately, Ursa's like kind of in the bleed. Which makes me wonder what the original sort of magazine version of that image looked like. So basically, what the villains of the Lullaby arc are planning is to assassinate the guild masters. And then the next arc starts a series of arcs in which Mashima delves into the pasts of members of the team, starting with Gray. When Gray was younger, a demon named Deliora attacked his hometown, killing his parents and I think destroying the hometown. He was rescued by an ice make wizard named and she taught him ice make magic alongside another student named Leon. About a decade later, after sacrificed herself stopping Deliora, Natsu steals a higher ranked quest than he's authorized to take. Natsu has the power to be a higher ranked wizard than he is. He just doesn't necessarily have the wisdom to go along with that. Although he does have sparks of like a battle analysis, but he doesn't quite have that sort of deductive or analytic sort of asset that would make him a higher ranked wizard than he is, at least for the moment. But he has Happy still one anyway and drags Lucy along. And she goes along because there's a golden key that's offered up as part of the award. And then Gray gets sucked into it, and as they sort of get the island, they discover what the islanders' problem is, and they also discover that somebody has brought the corpse of Deliora to the island in order to free it and themselves kill it, and that person is Leon, who is joined by some defectors from another magical guild or wizard guild. And then Urza comes along to stop them because it's unauthorized. And I think while there's some good parts to the arc, that delving into Gray's past, the fight with Leon, I think I'm not particularly fond of it because of brief moments of Urza's character. She comes off as needlessly cruel in this arc, because she's coming to the island to bring the Natsu, Lucy, Gray, and Happy back because it's an unauthorized mission. But she also doesn't care that what's happened to the Islanders, even though she probably figured out what it was fairly quickly. And it's like, really? Although fortunately, that kind of aspect of her character does quickly get moderated and changed. But it is an off note, even if it is only for a chapter or two. Once this arc is wrapped up, they return to Fairy Tale to discover that the guild has been nearly destroyed. And this leads to the Phantom Lord arc and the delve into Lucy's past. Lucy, it is revealed, is a debutante whose father has hired Phantom Lord to bring her back. And Phantom Lord, a rival guild to Fairy Tale, has taken the opportunity to attack Fairy Tale in an illegal guild war. So Gedgiel, an Iron Dragon Slayer, has attacked the guild building and later attacks a trio of Fairy Tale wizards. This leads to all-out war between the guilds, and during the Fairy Tale's counterattack, Makarov is grievously injured and Lucy is kidnapped. Makarov is the guild master. Once Lucy escapes, Master Jose, the leader of Phantom, launches a full-scale attack on Fairy Tale, in which most of the guild members sort of try to hold off Jose's forces. Lucy gets kidnapped again, and Natsu, Gray, Elfman try to stop the Phantom Lord's guild hall from attacking the guild and the Fairy Tale building, and also Magnolia, the city in which Fairy Tale is located. And the fight between Natsu and Gedgiel, once that happens, is amazing. It is wonderful. Let me see if I have some scenes from there. But that is an awesome fight. And then, oh yeah, that's a great image right there. Let's see here, just do quick. So that's an amazing fight. And then Makarov is healed and comes in to sort of end the conflict, and that is an amazing, amazing fight. Particularly the last image of the volume. Just it is anyway. So after Phantom Lord, there's a brief sort of smaller arc that continues to feature Lucy, in which she sort of has it out with her father, which I guess you could also argue is a bit of a wrap-up of Phantom Lord. And then there's a brief arc featuring the character Loki, who is a Fairy Tale member who is later revealed to be, in this arc, a celestial spirit, and he basically joins Lucy as one of her celestial spirits. And then the next arc delves into Urza's past, the Tower of Heaven. Urza was a slave when she was a child, and she was kidnapped by a magical cult who set her and a number of other slaves to building a tower intended to resurrect the dark wizard Zeref, who it is later revealed was neither dead nor asleep. Anyway, so one day there's a rebellion that Urza leads, and one of her friends, Jalal, is corrupted and basically exiles Urza while keeping the rest of the former slaves effectively enslaved to continue building it. The tower has since been completed, and Jalal now intends to sacrifice Urza to resurrect Zeref. So he sends a trio of her former friends to come and collect her. And this leads eventually to Natsu, Lucy, Happy, Gray, and a former member of Phantom Lord Juvia, who is in love with Gray, to come to her rescue. And it's an amazing arc. It's one of my favorites. The fights between, the delving into Urza's past, the sort of character development that Urza goes through. The fight scenes are really good, particularly Lucy and Juvia against Bidaldus. Natsu again, Urza against Ikaruga, and Natsu versus Jalal is wonderful. Just wonderful. Let me see if I can find some good pictures from here. And this arc also kind of changes some things because for most of the series, there's been a sort of supranational organization called the Magic Council that sort of regulates the magical world. And they are destroyed in this arc. I guess I'll, yeah. Yeah, it's a very fun arc. And okay. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite arcs. So after the Tower of Heaven, the team returns to Fairy Tale to discover that the guild has been rebuilt and improved on, and that Juvia has joined, as well as Gajil, who's a bit surly, and you're like, why is he here? And so this leads to I'm not entirely sure if the arcs have official names or if they're just fan given. I'm not entirely satisfied with the Fighting Festival arc title. I much prefer the Fairy Tale Civil War, because effectively what happens in this arc is that one of the most powerful members, Laxus, who happens to be Makarov's grandson, has been dissatisfied with how the guild's been represented, what's been going on in the guild. And so he and his 3 bodyguards, Freed, who's in love with Laxus, Evergreen, and Bixlow, enact a coup attempt. They kidnap many of the women in Fairy Tale and force the others to sort of try to fight them to free them. But the problem is that Freed has laid a series of traps throughout Magnolia that forces the other members of Fairy Tale to fight each other. So it's basically an enforced civil war. And while I enjoy some of the fights, Lucy, once she's freed, her fight with Bixlow is very well done, and there's quite a bit of humor, particularly around her relationship with Loki. The fight between Mara Jane and Freed is really wonderful. And then the final fight with Natsu Gajil against Laxus is brilliant. But there's a bit of a disconnect, I think, because Natsu sees this as sort of a friendly sort of tournament to see who in fairy tale is actually the strongest. And that's one of Natsu's character traits, is that he has a bit of a battle lust, a bloodlust. He likes to fight, and he goes and he challenges stronger members to kind of spar. And I guess that's sort of in keeping with the more sort of martial arts aspect of the wizarding world that Mashima has created. But at the same time, it allows for a gross mid-reading of what is going on in this situation. I mean, Laxus is launching a coup with the intent of purging Fairy Tale of those members that he sees are too weak to stay. Now, exactly what that rubric is, I have no idea, because, yeah, quite frankly, it's I mean, it's a weird rubric. Or it's never actually really fully defined why he's doing that. And I guess it's, since there's not been enough attention paid to Laxus, he's only appeared a few times before this, at the beginning of the Galuna Island arc, where he basically sort of his goading gets Natsu to go on an S-ranked quest, and then at the end of Phantom Lord, where he sort of angry at everyone else because of what happened, even though he did not actually participate himself. Anyway, but it's like it's a coup that is forcing the members of the guild against their will to fight each other, and it's causing a huge amount of pain. And then he later threatens to destroy Magnolia not once but twice. And in a way, I guess there is that disconnect where I'm, as a reader, taking this a lot more seriously than perhaps the characters in text are. And that I think Laxus should have been more severely punished. And I think his bodyguards, the Raijin tribe, should have been punished, even though I do really like Freed. But I mean, they do get better. They do sort of change in later arcs. But it's still, I think more could have been it. But there are some really good images from this arc. And I don't really quite buy the Laxus's motivations, really, because it's like him as a child, and then how he develops. It's like, you see here, but yeah. So this is Natsu and Gijil teaming up. And this is the start of their fight. Let me see if I could find, there's a image I'm looking for where, oh yeah. Where Laxus gets roided out effectively. But yeah, so that's that. So after the Fairy Tale Civil War and Laxus's expulsion, a few weeks pass, and the guild, and there's a new magic council forming. But before that happens, a number of guilds, Fairy Tale, Blue Pegasus, Lemmy Scale, where Leon and his 3 subordinates later join or rejoin in the case of the subordinates, and Kate Shelter have formed together to take on one of the 3 members of the Balam Alliance, an alliance of dark guilds that rule the sort of the underworld in the setting. And so their target is Oresian Seis, and that leads to the Oresian Seis arc. So Oresian Seis is a guild of 6 wizards who are incredibly powerful, or at least are said to be incredibly powerful. And they're seeking Nirvana, a magical artifact that can change alignments, and apparently also has a bit of destructive power as well. And so the alliance of legal guilds sort of began a series of fights with Oresian Seis, and it is amazing. It is fairly long. It is the longest arc to date. Most of Fairy Tale's arcs tend to be about a volume or two plus a little. It's like about 2 volumes and then a little bit of a third. But this one is closer to 6 volumes. And it's amazing. It is a very, very well done arc. And so I'm going to show you some from this one. Volume 17. Oh yeah, that's Jalal coming back. He comes back in this arc to help figure out where Nirvana is, and then sort of makes his heel face turn. Although Jalal appears way too much. That's because there's another one that's a alternate universe version, which will be in the arc that I'll talk about first on the next recap, because I don't have because I'm kind of working on that one, and I'll talk about that in a second once I get to this. Oh yeah. Now this is bits of the scene between Leon and Gray against Racer. So the members of Oresian Seis, before I forget, are Brain, the leader, Racer, who has a super speed, Cobra, who's a poison dragon slayer, Angel, who is a celestial spirit mage like Lucy, Hot Eye, who can liquefy the ground, and Midnight, who has a bit of a reality warping power as well as an illusory powers. And so initially, Oresian Seis mops the floor with the Alliance, but then gradually each member of the Alliance manages to take down a member of Oresian Seis. Leon and Gray take down Racer. Hot Eye defects due to the influence of Nirvana. Angel is beaten by Lucy in a really awesome fight. That is a really well done fight. Let me see if I have, because I think it's in this one too. Oh no, it's in the next one. But it's a really amazing fight. I didn't pull that one. And then Natsu defeats Cobra. And then Jura beats Brain. And then Urza beats Midnight. And that's a really awesome fight too. I mean, there's a whole slew of awesome fights in this one. And that leads to the secret about the Oresian Seis, which is that each member sort of acts as a seal to keep Brain's other personality in check, Zero, who once all the members have been defeated, he's unleashed and he basically goes on a rampage, and that leaves Natsu to fight him, while the other members of the Alliance who are capable of fighting to take out one of the supports of Nirvana to destroy it. And the fight between Natsu and Zero is amazing. It's wonderful. There's like that. And then that. And it's just, it is wonderful. And that largely wraps up Oresian Says. There's still some wrap up in that sort of the Magic Council's forces sort of finally arrive to arrest the sort of members of Oresian Says and also Jalal, who is wanted for his actions in the Tower of Heaven arc, which again, a bit of an off note in that, I mean, Jalal did some horrible things. He enslaved his friends, he manipulated them, he murdered people, he destroyed the council, he launched a weapon of mass destruction. He committed a whole lot of crimes, and while he does not remember that, and while he was possessed and brainwashed, it's like he still kind of needs to pay for it. And it's like that scene at the end, it's just like, and yeah, although he does come back in the later parts of the manga. So anyway, so that wraps up pretty much Fairy Tail up through the Oresian Sace arc. I did start the beginning of the Edalus arc, which is the dive into Happy's backstory, but I'm going to save that until my next wrap up or recap because I haven't gotten through the arc yet. That's what I'll be doing today, although I'm a bit dreading it because the Edalus arc is not my favorite arc, although it's been years since I've read it, so I might change my mind. But anyway, so I will be starting my readings today with Fairy Tail Volume 21, and I hope to get to Volume 27 by the end of the day on Saturday, and then continue on. And so I think with my next Fairy Tail video, I will do basically Edalus to, I think, either Tartarus or the arc between the Grand Magic Games and Tartarus. I think that's how it's going to work out. And then Tartarus, Avatar, and the Alvarez or Albareth Empire arc at the very end. So basically what I'm planning on doing is the next two effectively weekly reads will be again devoted to Fairy Tail wrap-ups or recaps or discussions. So basically what I'll do is I'll kind of discuss the arcs, my impressions, and then the last one I will do a overall sort of dive, I guess. And then tomorrow, and then at some point I will do a preview of my post Fairy Tail reading plans, which will be sort of the following Friday. So next Friday will be from Edalus to at least the Grand Magic Games, if not the arc between Grand Magic Games and Tartarus. And then the following Friday will be the rest of the series from at least Tartarus through to the Empire arc, the final arc. And then basically what I read after I finish Fairy Tail will then carry over into the, I guess, first proper weekly reads of the new year, which will be the Friday after my last Fairy Tail wrap-up or something. I'll figure it out. So anyway, BookTube, so that's my plans for the coming week is to read more Fairy Tales. So until I see you next time, well, next week, I will, yeah. So anyway, BookTube, have a great weekend and stay safe.